Okay, boys and girls, let's go ahead and compare and contrast cubes and rectangular prisms, which are our 3D shapes. First, do you think you can find a cube and a rectangular prism in your house somewhere? Here are some ideas. A cube might be some dice. Maybe you have a Rubik's Cube, a square tissue box, blocks, or you have the game Don't Break the Ice. The Don't Break the Ice cubes are cubes. You can find one of those. For a rectangular prism, some ideas are a pasta box or a cereal box, or a rectangular tissue box, or a box of rice, or something else in your pantry. I bet when you open up your pantry, you will find a bunch of rectangular prisms. Go ahead and pause the video and go find one of each if you can. If not, it's okay. There'll be a picture on the next slide, but it's nice to have those items right in front of you. Okay, now that you're back and you're ready to go, you should have your cube and your rectangular prism in front of you so that you can look at them. Now you need a piece of blank paper and a pencil, or maybe two different colored pencils or markers or crayons. When you see what I've done on the next slide, you'll see I used two different colors. You don't have to. You can just use a pencil if you would like. That's fine too. But go ahead and pause the video again and go get those items so that you're all set to go. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is draw a Venn diagram on your paper. So here's a Venn diagram. You can see I actually used two different colors for this. I made the left circle green and the right circle pink. And I did this because it helps me to keep my two different sides separated. So go ahead and draw those two circles on your paper. And don't worry about it being perfect. Now we need to label those sides. So on the left side, I wrote the word cube, C-U-B-E, and notice I used the same color as my circle. On the right side, I labeled it rectangular prism. Those are two long words, so if you need to pause the video, go ahead. Okay, now here's what I would like you to do. Do you see I put a picture of a cube on the top in the left, and I put a picture of rectangular prism over here on the right. And then down at the bottom, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ways to describe cubes and rectangular prisms. Remember, when you're using a Venn diagram, this middle section right here is where you're going to write things that are the same. So if you see one of these down at the bottom and you think that a cube has that and a rectangular prism has that, I want you to write that in the middle of your Venn diagram. But if you read one at the bottom and you say, I think that's only for my cube. And remember, use the cubes and rectangular prisms that you have. Touch them, pick them up, and look at them and compare. But if you think it only matches the cube, write it on this side only. If it only matches a rectangular prism, write it on this side only. So you're going to be putting these words, quadrilateral faces, that's going to go somewhere. This one right here, this is all together, 4 rectangular faces and 2 square faces, 12 edges, all the faces are squares, 8 vertices, and 6 faces. Go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to take a few moments to go ahead and write all 6 of those descriptors into your Venn diagram. Okay, so you should have taken some time, and right now you should be looking at your Venn diagram, and you should have all of those on there. So now let's go ahead and check them. I'm going to start over here on the left. 8 vertices. Vertices. I remembered from my video earlier that vertices are these little points. And when you pick up your cube, I could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then one more back here, 8. Well, I know 8 vertices matches a cube. But let's check the rectangular prism. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over here, 5, 6, 7, 8 also. And if you were to put that one right here, oops, I'm sorry. Let me go back and do it this way. You have to take this one right here, 8 vertices, and that one will go in the middle because that matches both the cube and the rectangular prism. All right, what about 6 faces? Remember, faces are these flat sides. And a cube, I know has 6 faces because it's like a number cube. It's a dice. And dice have 6 sides or 6 faces. A rectangular prism is just the same. It's just been stretched out. So again, 6 faces is going to go in the middle because that is talking about both. Let's go over here to all faces are squares. Well, I know right here on the cube, I can see these squares. And when you pick up that cube or that number cube, there are all squares on every single side. Now the rectangular prism, on the other hand, I see a square over here, but look at this one right here. That's not a square because a square has 4 equal sides. And this is not. I have 2 long sides. So this one right here, all faces are squares. That only matches the cube. So I'm going to slide that right over here. Okay, what about quadrilateral faces? Well, I remember from our lessons previously with some other teachers that quadrilateral means any 4-sided shape. And on my cube, all the faces are squares. Well, those are all quadrilaterals. On my rectangular prism, I have squares and rectangle faces, and those are still all quadrilaterals. So this one is also in the middle to describe both. Oops, let me slide that down. So are you checking these off as you go? If you miss one, just draw an arrow where it should go. Let's look at this one, 4 rectangular faces and 2 square faces. Well, I know before that this one, all faces are squares, match the cube. So this one, 4 rectangular faces and 2 square faces must be just the rectangular prism because it has the rectangle sides. We have one more, which is 12 edges. Again, from our earlier video from Learn Zillion, I remember edges are these right here. And if you were to pick up your rectangular prism and count them, you would get 12. If you pick up your cube and count them, you would also get 12. So that's another one that's the same. So I'm going to move that one right here in the middle also. So now I have sorted my words, and let me put this back up and present so it's nice and big. On the left side for cube, I only have one thing. All the faces are squares. On the right side for the rectangular prism, I also only have one thing. 4 rectangular faces and 2 square faces. But in the center, there are 4 ways that these two 3D shapes are alike. They both have 8 vertices. They both have 6 faces. They both have quadrilateral faces. And they both have 12 edges. Great work, boys and girls. You just compared and contrasted 3D shapes. And the 3D shapes you compared and contrasted were a cube and a rectangular prism.